This is the Thompson Cast. I am Mel Thompson. I like to focus on the long-term issues when it comes to the Eurozone. The bad news, encompassing Spain and Greece, must be paid attention to, but these are not the real indicators of the totality of the Eurozone long-term issues. The level of problems that stretch across all Eurozone nations must be looked at collectively with an eye on the long term. By long term, I mean 5 to 10 year. The prospect of the Eurozone still being in effect in 2023 is strong, given that a disintegration would be such a disaster that it could not and will not be contemplated or entertained by the member nations. So having come to this conclusion, what is going to happen? Well, the answer lies in the policies that are currently in place and the moves to improve them in a public and methodical manner. One step at a time is fine, but the long-term goal with benchmarks is the key to not raising the level of political risk. In other words, it is okay to say that we are going to focus on interest rates or unemployment, but now that we have done this, what are we actually going to do? We have said this, but what are the exact precise policies? What are the benchmarks? What measurement are we going to apply to show that we have actually put in place policies that are actually having an impact on these particular issues that we've addressed? Just giving lip service to resolving the Eurozone crisis by the member nations and giving lip service to addressing the structural problems of these nations is simply a non-starter. Now is the time to make and keep promises that are based upon real numbers. Not only the financial numbers, but also those that reflect time. How much time is it going to take? And being aware that you only have a certain amount of time to implement positive policies before the market will become leery and concerned about either non-moves or moves that basically do nothing. In the Eurozone, the unemployment rate reached 11.1% this past May. This was a record going back to 1995. And there are 17 Eurozone countries, and across these 17 countries, they had an unemployment rate that was over 10%. Once again, lip service did not prevent this, nor will it in the future. It can only get worse if nothing concrete is done. The more there is infighting and a lack of concerted, clear, and predictable policies in the Eurozone, the longer it will be before the level of political risk starts to fall. Greece and Spain are indicators that the long-term policies of how to deal with, track, and address structural political risks in the Eurozone nations were never formulated or at best never enforced. This must change, and I believe it will, for the simple reason that failure will consume even healthy nations and make the current Eurozone crisis and its impact on global markets look like a blip on the screen. All in all, I believe that there must and will be changes in how the Eurozone is governed in the future, for no other reason than the total collapse of it would be so horrific for the 17 nations in the member collective known as the Eurozone that they have no choice but to address these issues. Not to mention the rest of the global economy would be completely turned on its head if something happened that would cause the Eurozone to either collapse or even cause discussions of it disintegrating in some way. That would be a complete disaster. They are not going to go down that road. I honestly believe that they are going to do something in the long term that will strengthen the Eurozone, not make it any worse than it already is, and perhaps even fix the long-term problems, structural problems actually, that have led to where we are now in the Eurozone. This is my belief, and at least in my mind, the fact that I have this belief lowers the political risk overall. The fact that they're going to do something because they have no choice is something that you can look at in the long term and believe that there is a strong possibility that the political risk will diminish over time because they have to do something. This has been the Thompson Cast. I am Mel Thompson.